A good beef roast is a wonderful way to celebrate any occasion with your friends and family, or just a nice meal on a Sunday evening. And joining me in the studio is Chef Shenoa French from the Chekhov-funded Beef Culinary Innovation Center at the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Thanks again for coming back to our show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it looks like you have an interesting recipe here that's all green in front of us. Tell us what you got going.
We do have an interesting recipe for you today. This is a pesto-rubbed tri-tip with a warm tomato side with it. So that's what we'll talk about. We're going to start here with the tri-tip.
Yes.
This is part of the sirloin, and I went ahead and rubbed this with a pesto already, just because it's kind of a messy process. But
tell us a little bit about the tri-tip, because I know the Californians love it, but it's not a cut that everybody knows what it is.
You know, it's not. It's becoming more popular, and even I've noticed in the last 6 months here in Colorado,
you can find it.
We can find it in most retail cases anywhere you go. But like I said, it is a cut out of the sirloin.
Yep.
It's a tender cut. It grills great. It's not something that needs any braising or any moist heat to lead to tenderness. You can use a flavor marinade on it, but we don't recommend using a tenderizing marinade on it just because it is a pretty tender cut
already. Yeah, good.
So we've started with, like I said, a pre-made pesto.
Okay.
You can buy it at the grocery store. You can get it frozen. You can get it fresh. I think they even have it jarred now. We need about a half a cup. And you're going to start and just rub it all over. Like I said, it's kind of messy, so that's where they've started.
Perfect.
And then before we go into the oven, this is going to be an oven recipe instead of a lot of people think that this is something that needs to go on the grill.
Sure.
It can as the weather heats up and it's nice and warm outside. Most of the Californians will always use this on the grill. This is kind of one of those crossover recipes. So I'm going to top it off with a little bit of black pepper. Yep, just kind of give it the seasoning. I love black pepper. It's kind of the joke in the kitchen that if I've seasoned it, there's plenty in there.
Plenty of pepper.
But what I'm going to start talking about here is roasting pans. And we do use this in the oven. Most common. This is most common ovens. This is a broiler pan, technically. This usually comes with all standard ovens. It usually is in that bottom drawer. The nice thing about it is it has a bottom, kind of catches all your drippings down there. So this is an option that you can use. Another option, and what I'm going to go ahead and stick it in, is this is just a different type of roasting pan. It's got a little bit of a grate on the bottom. The most important thing that you need with a roasting pan is that there is something on the bottom of your pan keeping your beef off the bottom.
I see.
Because what happens is when you're truly roasting, you need to make sure that it's on there and the air will circulate all the way around the product, come underneath. If you were to put this in the bottom of the pan, as it cooks, there's water, moisture that comes out of your product, and then you're going to have steaming action on the bottom of your pan. You won't get a nice that caramelization or the Maillard reaction all the way around the food.
A wire rack would do the same thing?
Absolutely. If you have some sort of a metal cookie sheet at home with a wire rack, as long as it's not plastic, absolutely. So this just gets placed right in the center here.
Perfect. Very good. That's easy enough. And then you stick it in the oven?
Yep. And I'm going to go ahead and stick this in the oven, 425 degrees. So we are roasting. It's a little higher temperature, and it only goes in there for about 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's not a long recipe. Make sure you put it in, the middle to the upper 2/3 of your oven. You don't want it real low against the bottom of the oven because you'll have a lot of heat down there. So set your timer. Make sure that you pull it out at 135 internal temperature for medium rare. When you pull that out, it's going to rest and come up in temperature. So we recommend using an internal
135 for medium rare. Easy enough.
So in the process, we're going to make our tomato topping that goes on goes on top of the plate. This is a can of Italian stewed tomatoes. One can, real simple, any brand, into a sauce pot. I'm going to turn this up a little bit. You're going to want medium heat, nothing more. What you're looking to do is to reduce this down and pull the moisture out of the tomatoes. So it's more of a thickened sauce. A half a cup of white diced onions. If you want to use yellow, you can. Just for flavor, so those get mixed in there. And then the recipe, as you see, will call for pesto to go in here as well. But the trick with that is you want to wait until this sauce gets reduced.
Why is that?
All the way. If you add it now, the fresh herbs and stuff that are in here will end up getting cooked. They don't need to be. As you add this in, it'll also give you more of a brown color. It's going to muddy your clarity on this. Because pesto doesn't need to be cooked, it will not, it'll kind of mute the flavor of the pesto at the end. So again, This goes on medium heat. Doesn't really need to be watched. It can kind of be stirred.
For about how long?
Ever so often, about 15 to 20 minutes. Like I said, same kind of time. Get your roast in, that real simple ingredients go in, and you kind of let it go.
That's outstanding.
Watch it so it don't burn. You don't want to
Smells
cook it too fast. Yeah. And in the Italian stewed tomatoes, that can has a little oregano, a little garlic, but it's real simple. So we're going to let this go. Once most of your moisture is out of those tomatoes, you just dump in and go ahead and give it a stir.
Outstanding.
And then what you have over here is as you pull your roast off, like I said, make sure you let it rest. So you'll take it out, pull it out of the roasting pan. Because if you leave it in the roasting pan and tent it, it'll cook much more and then it'll be overcooked.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, that carryover temperature is important that you let it rise and rest. But if you leave it in that hot pan and tent it just a little bit, yeah, you're going to have a roast more done than you had anticipated.
And then you just cut it against the grain?
Yep, the most important thing is you slice it against the grain. And as you see, this does have still a little green color to it, but it's kind of something unusual. And it's got a great flavor, pinkness on the inside, and then you just add those great stewed tomatoes next to it.
What a great recipe. That's outstanding. Thanks so much for coming and sharing this again with us, Shenoa. We really appreciate that. And for this and other great beef recipes, just visit our website at cattlementocattlemen.org.